to my esteemed colleague in the endless pursuit of our shared past. I wish to draw your attention today to a peculiar and enduring moment from our more recent history. It is a story that at first glance might seem like a footnote, a bizarre anomaly in the grand tapestry of the 20th century. Yet I believe it speaks volumes about the era in which it occurred and resonates with a timeless human fascination with the unknown. This is not a tale of great battles or political upheavals, but a quiet, chilling, and profoundly human mystery that unfolded in the vast, indifferent wilderness of the American Pacific Northwest. It is a cold case, a ghost story, and a heist all rolled into one, and it begins on a cold Thanksgiving Eve under the hum of jet engines. I speak, of course, of the man known to the world as D.B. Cooper. Our story begins on November 24th, 1971, a day of hurried travel and holiday anticipation across the United States. At Portland International Airport in Oregon, a man in his mid-40s, dressed in a dark business suit with a black tie and a crisp white shirt, approached the ticket counter for Northwest Orient Airlines. He purchased a one-way ticket to Seattle, a short 30-minute flight. He gave his name as Dan Cooper. He was quiet and unassuming, just another face in the holiday crowd. He boarded the Boeing 727 Flight 35 and took his seat, 18C. He ordered a bourbon and soda, lit a cigarette, and waited patiently for takeoff. There was nothing about him to suggest that he was about to commit one of the most audacious and mysterious crimes in modern history, a crime that would see him step out of a commercial airliner and into the realm of legend. Shortly after the flight was airborne, Cooper handed a note to a flight attendant, Florence Schaffner. Thinking it was just another lonely businessman's advance, she initially slipped it into her purse. Cooper, ever so politely, leaned closer and said, "Miss, you'd better look at that note. I have a bomb." The note was neatly printed and made its point with chilling clarity. Schaffner's blood ran cold. She asked to see the bomb, and Cooper calmly unzipped his briefcase, just enough for her to see a collection of red cylinders, wires, and a large battery. His demands were as precise as his appearance. $200,000 in negotiable American currency, which meant unmarked bills, 4 parachutes, 2 primary and 2 reserve, and a fuel truck standing by in Seattle to refuel the aircraft upon arrival. The flight crew relayed the demands to the ground. The president of Northwest Orient Airlines, Donald Norrup, authorized the payment, prioritizing the lives of the 36 passengers and 6 crew members. Sometime after 8 p.m., somewhere between Seattle and Reno, Nevada, in the midst of a raging storm, a warning light flashed in the cockpit, indicating that the aft air stair had been opened. This was the moment. D.B. Cooper, with the ransom money strapped to his body, walked down that staircase and leapt out into the freezing, rain-swept night. He vanished without a sound, swallowed by the vast, rugged wilderness below. The immediate aftermath was a frenzy of activity and ultimately frustration. A massive search operation, one of the largest in U.S. history, combed the dense forests of southwestern Washington. No trace of Cooper, his parachute, or the money was found. The FBI's investigation, codenamed NORJAC, Northwest Hijacking, would continue for decades, interviewing over 1,000 suspects and chasing down countless leads, all of which led to dead ends. The very name D.B. Cooper was a fluke, a mistake made by a reporter in the initial confusion. That stuck, forever cementing the mysterious figure's alias in the public consciousness. For 9 long years, the case remained utterly cold. Then, in 1980, a young boy named Brian Ingram, vacationing with his family on the banks of the Columbia River at a spot known as Tennabar, discovered 3 rotting packets of cash buried in the sand. The serial numbers matched the ransom money given to Cooper. This discovery, while electrifying, only deepened the mystery. The money was found miles from the projected flight path, raising new questions. Did Cooper land and bury the money? Did it wash downriver from a location where he perished? Or was it a deliberate plan? The discovery gave investigators a tantalizing clue, but it brought them no closer to finding the man himself. The FBI officially closed the active investigation in 2016 after 45 years of fruitless searching. D.B. Cooper remains the only unsolved skyjacking in American history. The theories about his identity and fate are as numerous as they are fascinating. Some believe he was an experienced paratrooper, perhaps a disgruntled veteran, who planned the crime meticulously and survived the jump. Others are convinced he perished in the attempt, his body and the rest of the money lost forever in the unforgiving terrain. Suspect after suspect has been named, from copycat criminals to ordinary men whose lives bore a passing resemblance to the scant evidence, but none have ever been definitively identified as the man on board this flight. The story of D.B. Cooper endures not just because it is an unsolved crime, but because it represents a moment of strange, almost romantic rebellion. In an era of growing institutional distrust, here was a man who, with quiet confidence, held a corporation and the government at bay, and then simply vanished. He was not violent or cruel, he was by all accounts a gentleman, and in his disappearance, he became a modern folk hero, a symbol of defiance against an impersonal system. My friend, as we look back on this super moment, I urge you to consider it not just as a thrilling cold case, but as a cultural artifact. What does the enduring legend of D.B. Cooper tell us about the American psyche in the early 1970s? What anxieties and desires did his audacious act tap into? I call upon you to look beyond the sensationalism and the folklore, examine the details of the case, the professionalism of the flight crew, the calculated risks taken by Cooper, the massive institutional response, and the decades of public fascination. In this story, we see a reflection of our own relationship with authority, with mystery, and with the tantalizing possibility that sometimes a person can simply step out of the world and into the realm of history, leaving behind nothing but questions. Let us continue to ask those questions, to sift through the facts, and to remember the human story at the heart of the legend. For in the quiet spaces of our past, in the unsolved mysteries and the lingering whispers of what if, we often find the most profound insights into who we were and who we are. Thank you for listening and supporting small channels like this one. If you like this type of history content, please hit the like button. We value all comments as it helps the channel understand your interest. Ready for the next fact?